You are now tuning into the Resilient Podcast. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of the Resilient Podcast. 20 episodes. What a milestone. I am your host, as always, Rob Aurelius. And today we're going to talk about the road to self-love, where I embrace my self-worth after heartbreak. So 10 months ago, my ex-girlfriend and I broke up. It's almost about to be a year. March 21st was the day that we broke up. And it's unfortunate that I have been, somewhat sad the last 10 months. Sad, but at the same time, living my life, embracing what it is, embracing the past, and living for today. I never thought that it would be like this. I never thought that time would go by like this. When the new year started and I was back in the same place that I was the year before in Hartford, Connecticut, because that's where I spent New Year's 2024. New Year's 2024, I spent it alone in my hotel room while my ex-girlfriend spent it in her new apartment in Philadelphia. And even though at the time she was still upset with me because I brought up to her attention after Christmas a few things that had been bothering me, we were still somewhat able to work things out for a while before we officially broke up. This year, I was in the hotel, same hotel room, same hotel, and I said to myself, it's crazy. A year ago, I read a prayer off of my phone for me and her. A prayer that was for us, a prayer that was for this relationship to blossom and for this relationship to be led with so much power and love from the Lord above. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. So, it's crazy how I've never prayed with someone in the beginning of the new year. And I did it last year because that's how much I believed in that relationship. Unfortunately, she didn't see our relationship as the future. She didn't see any value in our relationship. And this is why I'm a single man for 10 months. I can't talk about her. I don't know what her situation is. I don't know. She's been a single woman for 10 months. But I can only talk about me. So here we are 10 months later, January 2025. January 2024, we had started the year talking little by little. And towards the end of the month, when I was getting ready to go to Tampa, Florida, was where I noticed that I needed to talk to her. And I said, look, I have to talk to her because I noticed that there's been some distance. I've noticed that things are not the same. I noticed that she's been acting different from how she's always acted. And, I reached out to her and I told her, look, I apologize to you. And I remember in the conversation on the phone, I said to her, if I ever did any of these things, I apologize. And I remember her responding back to me and saying, oh, you haven't done any of those things. But then she insisted that she felt that we were not compatible. And she felt that I needed to go find somebody different, somebody like me, pretty much, but someone more different than her. And she says to me, I know you're going on this trip, and I don't want you to stress over this and whatnot. And I'm like, you just told me that you don't feel that you're my soulmate. You just told me that you don't feel that we're compatible, and you just expect me to go on this trip, like, not stressing it at all. I don't know. Emotionally avoidant people normally don't really have emotions. They don't really care about anything. They don't really have a reaction to most things most of the time. And I think that was her case. She didn't have a reaction to it. And it was very easy for her to feel the way she did because she was emotionally unattached. And I was emotionally attached. And, I have to sit here and process this all the time. And when I process this, sometimes I'm just, all I can do is just try to make sense of it all and try to make peace with it. Because if I don't make peace with it, I am going to turn into one bitter old man. And I don't want that. I have to make peace with the fact that she felt that she was not ready for this relationship, that she didn't feel as committed as she thought she was supposed to be. And I just have to accept it. Look, I want people to know that in no shape or form was I pressuring her into anything. I wasn't pressuring her into marriage. I wasn't pressuring her into having kids. I remember that I had people that asked me that, like, oh, were you constantly talking to her about kids? Were you talking about the future? Where I was like, we would talk about the future, yeah, but what couple doesn't talk about the future? If you're not talking about the future, what's the person that you're with? You're not really, what's the point of the relationship? We would talk about the future, like in the sense of like, I look forward to the day I marry you. I look forward to our kids and whatnot. But I wasn't pressuring her. I wasn't saying like, I want kids now. I want to get married now. So I don't know. Um, about a week and a half, well, more than that, about 2 weeks ago, my friend James came over to see me and we had a conversation at my office. And he brought me some Christmas gifts. I gave him his Christmas gifts. He was out in Utah for the holidays with his wife, and that's why I had not seen him. So I actually want to share real quick the gifts that he gave me. So he gave me these cards with Benjamin Franklin on them, like the $100 bill. And I still haven't asked him, why did you get me these cards? But there's two beautiful gifts here. One of them is a journal. And for those who are looking at it here on YouTube, it says, life is to be enjoyed. And it's a journal, as you can see. And I could write things in it. And it's got like a little story here and there. Right. So I appreciate that he got this for me. It's a book by Alfred A. Montarpert. Sorry, but that last name is so hard to pronounce. But, I appreciate that he gave me this journal. I'll be using it soon. Another gift that he got me is so nice. This is 100 inspiring quotes. And these are cards. And they're all quotes. I haven't opened these yet, but there's quotes in all of them. So again, James, thank you so much for the gifts. In the last episode, I spoke to you all about a book. I think it was the last episode of the episode before that, but I shared a book with you all, and I ended up giving him one of those books for Christmas. And then he ended up giving me this, and I remember him saying to me, "Good mind thinks alike, good minds think alike," because I got him this book with quotes, and he got me these cards with quotes. So I appreciate it, James. Thank you very much. But before I get into this episode and talk to you all about embracing my worth after heartbreak, I want to let you all know that earlier this week, I was able to launch the first publication on the Resilience Tribune website, and it's available right now. And it's a letter to our former Vice President, Kamala Harris. And I wrote such a beautiful letter to her. And I hope she could read it someday. But I poured my heart and soul into that. And I did the same thing last year when I wrote a letter to The Rock. And I shared it on my company website, ARCG Media. So I wrote a letter to The Rock, thanking him for coming back and making wrestling cool and becoming the final boss. Thank you to Cody Rhodes for finishing his story at WrestleMania 40. And thank you for Roman Reigns carrying the company on his back for the last 4.5 years until he lost the belt after, I think, 1,316 days, being the tribal chief and being, the WWE heavyweight champion. I wrote those letters to them, and it was the first time I wrote a letter like that in the form of a publication. And with this one with Kamala Harris, I took some time, over the last few months, especially, towards, November, where she was running for president. That's where I was determined that I was like, look, no matter how things go, if she doesn't win this election, I'm still writing this letter to her. And if she does win the election, I'm still going to write a letter to her. So, unfortunately, she didn't win the election. And, January 20th to me was Martin Luther King Day. And it was also the day where we were able to say farewell to Madame Vice President Kamala Harris. So for those of you who don't know about the Resilience Tribune website, our website is www.resilienctribune.com. And just go to publications and you'll see the letter that I wrote to Kamala. Now, I've been telling you all about this friend of mine that checks in on me from time to time. And we had another conversation. And my friend asked me a few questions. And they asked me the other day, "Hey, Rob, can you share the circumstances surrounding your breakup and how it initially impacted you?" And I'm like, oh, really? And I was like, the breakup was incredibly painful. And it felt like my world was crashing down. I thought I had found, the love of my life. And I thought I found someone that I could build a future with. But when that relationship ended so short, I was left questioning myself and my worth. And, initially I felt lost and unsure of who I was without that person. I also had to face a lot of emotions like sadness, anger, and confusion. But it was this heartbreak that set me on a path towards personal growth and healing. And my friend was like, "Oh, wow, that's beautiful." And I was like, "Yeah." So, you know, we talked about the turning point. And, at first we were talking about reflecting on the breakup. But then we were talking about the turning point. And, my friend asks me, what moment of realization prompted you to focus on self-love and personal growth? And I was like, well, there was a single, there wasn't a single aha moment, but more of a gradual realization that I couldn't keep living in the pain of the past. It wasn't fair. She wasn't living in the pain of the past. So why did I have to live in the pain of the past? So I had to take responsibility for my own healing because it's my own healing. I realized that I couldn't continue to define my worth through someone else's love or approval. So a big turning point came from when I decided to focus on improving myself, not for anyone else, but for me. It's something that she had also spoke to me about when we were breaking up, about improving, myself, for me, not for anybody else, not for anything or anyone, just for me, for Rob. So, the realization that I had the power to rebuild my life was just empowering. And my friend was like, okay. And then we talked about practices of, for like cultivating self-love, because like this was a new topic for me. I never really talked much about self-love at all, never really addressed it. And my friend says to me, so now we're, practicing self-love. So what specific practices or habits have you adopted to nurture self-love? And it was very easy. I started journaling to process my thoughts and emotions. And, I'm not a writer at all by any means. I've been doing more writing in my entire life now than I've ever done. But, writing helped me to reflect on what I needed and how I was feeling. And it allowed me to see my growth over time. I also began meditating and, of course, praying, which gave me moments of peace and clarity amidst the chaos. And I started setting small goals for myself, like exercising or learning a new skill, because it allowed me to feel accomplished and proud. Also, spending quality time with my friends that were there for me during this hard time. Spending time with my baby niece, who was born last year. She was literally born the same month that my ex-girlfriend and I broke up. But spending time with her as of late as well also reminded me of the love and support I had in my life. So, my friend was like, "Oh, I think that, it's crazy, right? Like one chapter closed in your life and one chapter open. Like somebody was walking out of your life who you wanted for them to be in your life forever, and then your niece was born. And this is somebody coming into your life, someone new." And I'm like, yeah, it's interesting, right? So, we talked about overcoming challenges because, the challenges were crazy. And my friend asked me, so, what obstacles did you encounter while embracing self love and how did you overcome them? And I said, look, the biggest obstacle was battling the inner voice in my head that told me that I wasn't enough for her, for my ex, or that I probably would have never been able to heal. The truth of the matter is that there were moments of self-doubt where I questioned whether I'd ever find happiness again. Almost the entire year last year, I felt like that way. Like, am I ever going to be happy? Am I ever going to finally find someone that cares? And, you know, I overcame these by reminding myself that healing, like I've always said before, isn't linear. And there's no set time for recovery. There really isn't. So I sought therapy. I've been in therapy for a few years now. And it helped me work through these emotions. This podcast helped me through the emotions and, challenging my negative thought patterns. So surrounding myself with positive influences and not being afraid to ask for help were also key in overcoming these challenges. And my friend was like, "Oh, great. Well, yeah, the therapy definitely helps." And it really did. It really did. Therapy has helped me deal with the last two breakups that I had. And speaking about that, we talked about the lessons learned. So my friend had asked me, "Rob, what do you think are the most valuable lessons you've learned about yourself through this journey?" And I was like, "Well, I've learned that I am stronger than I thought I was. I'm stronger, than I thought that I was ever capable of handling life's toughest moments. And I discovered that self-love isn't about perfection or always feeling good. It's actually about being kind to yourself, even on the hard days. I've also learned that resilience comes from within and that it's okay to take your time in the healing process. I now know that I'm worthy of love and happiness, regardless of past breakups or any situation that I've been through. So, my friend was like, "Well, this podcast is a blessing because you created it and you said that you have had some people reach out to you. And actually, thank you for creating the podcast." And I was like, "Yeah, I really am so thankful that I finally had people reaching out to me." And they said to me, "Well, you know, what advice would you offer to your listeners on your podcast, currently navigating through their own healing journey?" And I was like, "Well, first and foremost, this is kind of like my message to the world because, every episode has a message to the world, right? And that message to my listeners on the Resilient Podcast is be patient with yourself. Remember that healing takes time and it's okay to feel the full range of emotions. Don't rush through the pain. Let yourself feel what you need to feel. My friend Estefania told me that. Let yourself feel what you need to feel. And my therapist also said that to me too. So my therapist and Estefania literally said that to me around the same time. Let yourself feel what you need to feel, Rob. And also, I want everyone to remember that it's okay to ask for help. Don't ever feel shy, embarrassed for asking for help because I've asked for help before. And, it had nothing to do with pride or anything, but I just know I couldn't, I just didn't know how to deal with things. So I reached out to, I literally reached out for help. So, I reached out for help, and I want you all to reach out for help as well too, whether it's through therapy, talking to your friends, or seeking support in any form that feels right for you. Finally, I want you to focus on building a relationship with yourself. You have to focus on building a relationship with yourself, folks. The most important relationship you will have in your life is the relationship that you have with you, yourself. So learn to love who you are, flaws and all. You have to learn to love yourself. You really do. Because once you do that, you'll attract the right kind of love into your life. And that right there is something that my ex-girlfriend shared with me. She said that to me during the breakup conversation. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that she said that to me. So I want to recap what I talked about in this episode. And, this episode has been about the journey of embracing self-love after heartbreak and how important it is to focus on healing. I've shared my own experience with you all, my practices and the challenges, and I hope that it resonates with you, whether you're going through something similar or just looking to improve your relationship with yourself. I encourage everyone to take a moment to reflect on your own healing journey. Most of us are going through our own healing journey. And, share your thoughts with me and the Resilient Podcast community. Remember, you are not alone in this. And together, we can continue to grow stronger and more resilient every day. And it's just the truth. I've said it before. I've said it 1,000 times, and I will continue to say it. You are not alone. You're never alone. Always feel free to reach out to me. And my offer still stands for anyone who listens to this podcast and is looking for some form of therapy. Reach out to me. If you cannot afford therapy, I have resources available for you. So before I go, I just wanted to remind you all that if you're dealing with anxiety or insomnia, you can't sleep because of your depression or whatnot, you have anxiety throughout the day, or you're just, not feeling well, don't forget to visit my partner website, nalahealth.com, and check out their CBD oils, check out their oils for inflammation, insomnia, anxiety, and whatnot. And like I've mentioned before, there's a special code that you can use to receive 10% discount off of your purchase. The code is TRP10. So make sure that you use that code on checkout, and you're going to save 10% on your purchase. It is a lovely partnership that I have with Nala Health, and I take so much pride and joy in it because Victor is one of the greatest people that I know. And I've been mentioning Victor a lot in my podcasts. I still haven't interviewed him yet, but he will be on the podcast soon, hopefully at some point this year. Speaking of guests, just wanted to let you all know that this is episode 20. Episode 21, I do have a guest coming on the show, and this is the first guest on the show for this year. This is guest number 5, and I look forward to it. So next month in February, the first episode of the month will be the first episode of the year with a guest on it. So I interviewed 4 people last year. Let's see how many people I get to interview this year. But like I mentioned before, this is guest number 5. It's a special person. And I hope you guys really enjoy that episode. And I hope that you was able to enjoy this episode as well, too. So, folks, if you want to be on the podcast, reach out to me. Follow us at The Resilient Pod, as you see right there on the screen. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Follow the Resilience Tribune at TRP Tribune on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Visit our website, resilienctribune.com. And while you're there, support us. Buy our merch. It's at the TRP shop. We have shirts, we have hoodies, we have jackets, even shirts for the ladies. When you make a purchase on the TRP shop site, a certain percentage will go to proceeds. So before I wrap up this episode, I just want to say to everyone that, again, it's been 20 episodes with this one. I am so thankful. And I look forward to every episode that is produced this year. So, folks, this month has been very interesting because I have been reflecting. And next month in February, it's going to be a little emotional for me because it will make a year on February 13th, the last time I saw my ex-girlfriend. And, it's the day before Valentine's Day, and I got to think about it. It's going to come to my mind, but I just have to deal with it, right? But I have to remain resilient, right? That's the whole point of this. And then before you know it, March has come around the corner, and it'll be officially a year that I've been single. I didn't know that it was going to be that long, but it seems like we're getting there. And, I'm going to remain single until I can feel that I can allow another person into my heart. Because it won't be fair to allow someone in and not fully give them the love and attention that they deserve, because I'm still healing. And, we're always healing no matter what, but it's not fair to bring someone into my life knowing that I'm still not over someone. So, like these cards right here say, you got this. Remember, folks, you got this. Be strong. And remember that anything is possible and everything can be. And I look forward to the next episode, episode 21. And it's been a pleasure. It really has. And I look forward to everything that's coming my way. So once again, when you guys have a chance, make sure that you visit my website, resilienttribute.com. Go check out the first publication where I wrote a letter to Kamala Harris. And I will be seeing you all in the next episode. So thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all next time. And I appreciate all the love and the support. For now, this is Rob Aurelius saying, remain resilient, be strong, and love yourself. We'll talk soon. Peace.